comes from the NXC Podcast Network. His name is Paul LaJoy. Paul, great to meet you. Great to see you. Thanks for being here.
Sure. Hey, Thad. Thanks for having me.
So, Paul, you're a best-selling author. I know you've been around the block quite a bit. To be to be fair, I read the Cliff Notes version of your book. I didn't read the whole thing, but what I read is incredible, and I kind of want to just touch on that a little bit and kind of, your origin story. How did you get here? What was the impetus to start Biz by Pro and then obviously write the book?
Man, we can go all over the place here on this one. Where do we start? Let's talk about um, kind of like the beginning of everything, and then we can kind of go from there. So, from an education standpoint, I'm a CPA coming out of college and worked big six accounting firm back then, long time ago. 1990 is when I graduated from school, and then worked at Coopers and Lybrand for about 3 years in audit. Absolutely hated it, but as much as I hated the work, I'd tell everybody to do it because it's just you can't replicate that stuff on a resume, right? So you kind of just got to go through it, and that opens up a lot of doors for you. Left Cooper's and then kind of worked in corporate world in various roles in accounting and finance for about 8 to 10 years, and had a little bit of a life event where we were getting ready to have me and the wife getting ready to have the second kid, and she was going to stay home. And what we started doing is like, well, we need to replace a little bit of your income and let's go find a business that you can run semi absentee. Maybe work 20 hours a week, something like that. Maybe produce 50, $75,000 in income, something like that. Right. So, first time venturing into that space, didn't know what we were doing. And literally, almost the time we started looking, my brother Bob, and I'm the youngest of eight. So, Bob's number two. Bob's 12 or 13 years older than me. He had worked at one company called Fast Tax his entire life. He's an IT guy and had 150 people reporting to him. And they went through a merger, and their surviving parent pretty much let go of all managers and above. Worked there for 20 or 25 years or something like that. But they did give him a 2 year severance package. So that's unheard of. So that was great. And I just kind of had a conversation with him, and he didn't know what he was going to do. And I'm like, hey, just pull our money. Let's go find a little bit bigger business than what I was originally looking at. And he said, sure. So we both kind of just threw it out there to the network. And again, all new to us right here. Right. So we don't know who to contact, what to say, what kind of business to buy, how much business we can afford. We didn't know any of that stuff. Right. We're both very good with numbers. Him working in kind of tax and IT, and me being a CPA, we're good with numbers. So actually, a guy I played soccer with. I played college ball, so I kind of actually still play soccer today. It's not very good soccer, by the way. It's a lot of beer drinking, is what it is right now. So one of the guys I actually played soccer with was a business broker. And he's like, hey, I got this company that we just got listed. I think it's good. Maybe fits in your wheelhouse of what you're looking for. I'm like, let's send me over the financials. And it was a flooring company that did hardwoods and carpet and tile and things like that. And had been in the Dallas area for 20 odd years. So great reputation, and been through the ups and downs of all the business cycles, and the numbers just, they footed, right? They made sense. So we took a look at it, and we loved the seller and loved everything about it. And we bought it. It was a $900,000 purchase, and it was cash flowing around 300 grand.
Mhm.
And the debt service was like, yeah, so a long time ago, 120 grand ish. So that left 180, 90,000 each. Um, Now I did not leave my W-2 for about 6 months. So until we started cash flowing, then I quit my job after about 6 months. Obviously, my brother Bob didn't have a job, so he's running the whole thing, and I'm doing long lunches and doing stuff like that,
Mhm.
going to measure jobs and things like that. So it worked out great. We were able to double the business in about 3 years, and that was our first venture into small business ownership. And good God, we didn't know what we were doing.
It,
I look back at it, it's like at a point in time, you think you're really smart, and then you live another 10 years and you realize how stupid you were. I mean, does that make sense? I
Y
mean, I
yeah,
look back
you
and I'm like, I'm a little 32-year-old little shit. And I think I know everything. Graduated from a top 20 school and I'm a CPA and I know everything. It's like, no, I don't. Not even close. Not
yeah,
even close.
the older we get, the more we realize that we don't know what we don't know, and it becomes more clear.
Yeah. One day, hopefully before I die, that I'll maybe think that I'm actually smart. I don't know if that'll ever happen.
You mentioned something when you were looking at buying this business. You said it looked good, you love the owners. How do you kind of handle that? How do you manage that, from a personal perspective? Like, the numbers look good on the balance sheet, but you gotta dive deeper than that. The owners are really nice people, and we love the business that they built, but you gotta dive deeper than that. Did you learn that in this business, or was that something that you learned later?
Well, too, I was comfortable doing all that, being a CPA, going through the due diligence and doing a quality of earnings test and making sure everything just flowed in the balance sheet and the P and L and the tax returns and um, looking at the bank recs and just making sure everything just ticked and tied.
Mhm.
But at the same time, it's just you got to be super careful. If I had to choose which is more important, the P and Ls or the seller, I'll take the seller
Really?
every day, right? Because if you don't feel comfortable with that seller, that I'm like, well, I kind of just rubs you the wrong way. Maybe you don't trust them,
Mhm,
you know, very much, or something weird about them. Walk away from it. I don't care what the numbers look like.
mhm.
So I felt really comfortable with that seller, and I was friends with him for another 20, 30 years afterwards. And we signed him on for 90 days employment. And I promise you, I called him every once in a while for 10 years, like, hey, man, I got a weird one for you. I haven't run across this in 10 years. What do you do? And he's like, this is how you do this, and this is what you need to do. And he was always there. So that was good that I trusted that person. Most people are like, are you kidding me? You're calling me, you bought my company 10 years ago. Are you kidding me?
Right.
Right. So pick the seller first, and then everything else comes in second behind that.
So and this is not the only one you've done, right? You've done like 15 businesses or more?
Yeah, right around 15 plus or minus. I don't know sometimes if I call that a business or not. So it's just yeah, probably around 20 different type of ventures per se in business and real estate.
And I mean, you can't hit a home run every time, right? So there's going to be some that just kind of just went south. What do you learn from those kinds of things? How do you handle that?
Well, without a doubt, for as much as you prepare and are ready for, sometimes there's things outside of your control. So we bought a lighting store, which we thought was a great complement to the flooring store because they did a lot of new
Yeah.
construction, the chandeliers and sconces and door hardware, cabinet hardware, that sort of stuff. And we thought it was a good use of space that you're hanging lights from the ceiling and my flooring products are down on the floor. So you're selling two things in the same amount of square footage. So we just thought it was a great idea. But for our old listeners today, they're going to know what I'm talking about. The young listeners, like, what are you talking about? There was a big old huge housing recession back in '07, '08
Mm.
that destroyed many of people's lives, where new construction in some cities went down 75% overnight. And we were lucky in Dallas, we only went down about 50%. However,
O- Only 50.
we closed on that lighting store 1 month before the crash. And literally within 90 days, our sales were down 50%.
Holy smokes.
So you can't prepare for that. I mean, it's just like, same thing. Roll it forward 12 or 13 years. What if you bought a business, a restaurant right before COVID? Doesn't mean you're stupid,
Right.
right? It's just like, get back up on the horse. You didn't fail because of your intelligence or anything like that. That's just circumstance you can't control, right? So there's really not a learning lesson on that one per se, other than I'm just telling people is like, don't let that one event change the course and outcome of your life. Right. Just like, Man, that's a bad deal. Unlike, and we're going to file bankruptcy on that company because the recovery didn't happen for about 3 or 4 years.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah, it was long.
it was long and it was bad. Um, but there is one that I will bring up that that some things that I learned from, was it company, maybe 2 or 3 companies after that, that we bought a fencing company, and I loved the industry, absolutely loved it. And it was kind of complicated in that the seller had 2 companies. He kind of wholesaled the fencing parts to himself, and then he had a retail arm and installation arm. And we were only buying the installation arm. And so there weren't individual financial statements. So we kind of had to trust him on some stuff. And remember when I said, trust the seller
Right.
first? Well, I didn't trust him, and I learned from him. So what I did, and to this day, this changed my outlook and how I look at things going forward for the next 15 years of my life when I'm buying businesses, is there's 2 things you have to remove yourself in all negotiations and looking at business, and actually in running businesses too. I would throw this out there. You got to remove your emotions from it. Okay. So I fell in love with this thing. So I overlooked red flags, right? Emotions and ego, right? So the emotions were, I did my own due diligence, and then I got my ego involved. Ah, that's okay. I'm smarter. I'm smarter than that guy. He doesn't know how to market. He's a poor manager. And I learned from that day forward is, I don't care what your education level is. I don't care if you have a PhD from Harvard. You are not smarter than that seller regarding that seller's business,
Right.
right? If that person dropped out in 4th grade, but he's been running a fence company for 30 years, he is a hell of a lot smarter than you. And don't think that you are,
Yeah,
right? So I kind of
you
thought
might
I
have
was,
repaired.
yeah, I thought I was smarter than the seller, emotionally involved and looking over red flags. So this day, and that wasn't a complete failure. We ended up selling it to somebody. We bought it back from the same guy and then sold it to somebody else. So that was kind of like a successful failure. Um, so to this day, I won't do any of my own due diligence. Even though I'm a CPA, I hire somebody outside to do it, and that removes that emotion and that ego involved in there. And I definitely have never thought ever again that I'm smarter than the seller.
Yeah, you might have repaired your fence in your backyard once or twice, but like you said, that guy's been doing it 30 years. He knows
Yeah.
the ins and outs of the industry like you could never hope to. When you're separating yourself, especially emotionally, right? It seems like it would be very difficult to trust the owner, like the owner, feel like you've developed a relationship with the owner of the business you want to buy, but then separate yourself emotionally, especially from the financials. That can't be easy.
It's not, and I actually still try to do it. I still act as a part-time salesperson in the flooring company. I got other things going on, but still kind of involved in there. And I've kind of done that now on customers. I'll go to a customer's house and I'm like, man, that guy can't pay me enough money to come in here to do stuff because I don't think I'm going to get paid.
Hmm.
Just some of the things he said and questions, and he tells me a story about, let's say he had his fence replaced, and oh yeah, I sued that guy. I'm like, okay, great, thanks for telling me that. So if I jack up something in your house, you're going to sue me? Is that where this is going to go? So I'll end up doing an estimate for that guy, but instead of 10 grand, I'll charge him 20. I won't get the job, or if I do, at least I got so much money in there so when he does sue me. um, so um, so I kind of learned from that, on from a trust perspective, on just other deals I'm doing with, and on customers I'm currently working with. It's just, if I don't trust them, I move on.
Yeah, you give them what's what we call it, the walk away price, right? Like
Yeah.
either you're going to walk away or you're going to pay me so much money, I'll find a way to make it worth my while.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're looking at businesses to buy, is your vision typically like, I'm going to keep this business long term, or are you often looking to flip them after so much time?
I'm looking to buy them. I never have an intention of buying and to sell them. I just
Okay.
don't. Now, where I am now and some of the things I'm doing that may be changing, where I may be trying to create like a small business acquisition fund where we're doing a roll up, and doing things like that. Maybe try to sell to PE, but um, no, I never buy something with the intention of selling it.
So so when someone comes to you and they come to Biz by Pro and they say, Paul, look, I'm tired of the rat race. I'm done with the 9 to 5. I got a healthy savings. I want to be my own boss. But what I want to do is flip companies. What's your advice?
I want to flip companies.
Like I'm thinking about the ego, right? I know more than some schlub who's been doing this for 20 years. I'm gonna find all the holes in the financials. I'm gonna be the next Rockefeller. I'm gonna figure out where I can increase profitability, build it up, and then I'm gonna get rid of it. And my plan is to do this every 5 years with a new company.
I try to talk them out of it, and then secondly, I tell them I'm not your guy. That's not my area of expertise. I can help you find and value it and get it set up, but growing it and flipping it that fast, I'm not your expert. I know a
Hmm.
bunch of people in that space that could help you, but um, and again, I'm gonna try to tell you to talk you out of that. 'Cause, I mean, that's just a if that happens, I think it just happens organically and naturally versus trying to force that.
Mhm.
I think you're going to get in a lot of trouble. You're going to overspend on marketing. You're going to hire too many salespeople. You're going to try to grow too fast. You're going to run out of cash flow. And if this is your first one, man, can you get a couple under your belt before you do that one, right? Because it's just like of business failures, 81% of the businesses fail because of lack of cash,
Mhm.
right? Just not understanding your inflows and your outflows. Growing, we always heard this thing, and it's 100% true. You can grow too fast. You start at 2 million and you're at 4 million by the end of the year. Boy, you better do some massive planning before that happens.
Mhm.
Because a lot of people, you do that and you hire a bunch of people, and all of a sudden your customers, your payment terms are 90 days and you don't have any cash to pay payroll. That's hard to recover from, right? So let's do the flip on business number three. Let's let you flatten your learning curve out on one or two first, and then let's do this big venture on item number three.
Mhm. That makes perfect sense. So you've got to with you, if you're in 15, 20 businesses and your goal is to keep them long term, you've got to have an incredible time management mentality, right?
Well, I don't have 15 now. I mean, I've gotten rid of a bunch of them. Again, I just went in with never having the intention of selling, and only selling when I'm either forced to sell, market sell, or I'm just want to go in a different direction, right?
Mhm.
Or I want to this company isn't what it thought it was going to be, so I get rid of it and that sort of stuff. So, I mean, I own four pieces of real estate right now. So each one of those I own, I manage myself. So I consider those all businesses. I own the flooring company, I own an oil and gas company, and my consultancy company. So I've really got seven right now. Um,
Gee, only
is
seven.
what I'm doing. But so yes, time management is super important. Um, and working on stuff that really matters, and don't get down in the weeds is really important.
Well, and it's such a mindset shift, right? From, like a stable W-2 job where you think you have security, but you really don't, as you mentioned with your brother. I mean, 20 years you give to a company and they just say, well, we sold, sorry. But turning that into a positive that is a cash flowing event, and you really control how much effort you put in and how much benefit you receive from any given business.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. I mean, it's just, and there's a lot of people out there that are kind of in my space and on social media, and they're kind of portraying that business ownership is easy, and it is far from easy. I mean, you think you have it rough at your W-2, wait till you own a business. So I'll just tell you real quick. So business number one. So this is 3 years of my life. For the first 3 years I owned that company, I probably worked 80 hours a week.
Mhm.
and you're working 80 hours a week and you don't sleep well either, because now you come home and you're tossing and turning, and it's like, one of your main customers got mad at you, and you lose sleep because you think you're going to get fired, or somebody didn't pay you on time, so you have to inject $20,000 into the company because you can't make payroll Friday. And you got to make sacrifices. You do. I mean, all these people just like, you don't think you have to change your lifestyle, right? So business number one. So I'm driving a Lexus that's paid off, living in a $450,000 house 32 years ago. So that house is probably worth $1.5 million now. So I sold my Lexus and I paid cash for a $5,000 10-year-old Ford Ranger. Okay. Stick shift in, I don't know, forest green color. Sold my house, downsized, went from a $450,000 house to a $200,000 house. Right. And then, so we made sacrifices, both from a monetary standpoint, from a lifestyle standpoint, and from a work management and worth ethic per standpoint, right? So people now think they're just going to just like the money's going to be flowing, and man, it's going to punch them in the face. So you got to make sacrifices, and then even when we started making money, it's like, do you just want to start? That first big check that comes in, what are you going to go buy another car? No, you put that in the bank for business number two,
Mhm.
right? So when we doubled that company after the first 3 years, and all of a sudden we went from 300,000 to 600,000 in income, and we didn't. I'm still driving my Ford Ranger, right? So that we saved it. So now we had $300,000 in the bank, and then we went and bought business number two, saved money and bought business number three, and business number four, and business number five, and just kept growing this thing. And I still live way below my means, way below my means. My truck I'm driving, I bought it 3 years old, and it's 6 years old now. Got 125,000 miles on it. What do I need a new car for?
Mhm.
I'd rather save another 100 grand and go invest it in something in the stock market, or go buy another piece of real estate or business, whatever. I'm not here to impress anybody, right? So you got to change that mindset, right? The only person you should be impressing is yourself, not anybody else. If you worry about what other people think about you, man, you're gonna have a hard life.
The goal is to always have your money working for you, right? Not It's not there to spend, it's there to increase additional cash flow. And
Yeah,
each business, if it's paying you a salary plus generating cash flow on top of that so that you can buy the next one and take a salary and generate. I love the idea that everything builds upon itself. Once you start with a solid foundation, and if you have the right people around you, you're just building, 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 and the rising tide lifts all boats in that sense.
oh, and it's getting exponential now, right? On my net worth and how much money I'm making, and it took me 20 years to get to a $10 million net worth, and then it took me three to go from 10 to 18, and I think I'll be at 50 in 6 years. So it just, all that stuff that's it's just, all those seeds that I planted, that I've been fertilizing and watering, they're now just starting to grow, right? So, and they're growing really fast. So it is a slow churn at the very beginning, but then it's a domino effect, as you mentioned, or the rising tide, without a doubt. And that's what I'm here for. I'm trying to create generational wealth, is what my goal is, and that's what everybody's goal should be, when you're coming into small business ownership.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that if you're doing things just in the moment, in the heat of the moment, and this comes back to ego, it comes back to your feelings, it comes back to when you're getting away from the core values that make a business strong, those are going to be problems no matter what business you go into. You could have bought into Subway 25 years ago and still screwed it up if you let these things control the way you run your business.
Yeah, without a doubt. And people rely too much on other people running their companies, and I'll throw that out there too. Just buyer beware if you think you can just buy a company absentee and it's going to run for you. Now, if you're running it absentee, people are going to steal from you, and you won't even know. You,
How do
you
you
got
help
you got to be
people
involved in some form or fashion.
people need to navigate that, and it sounds like you guys at Biz by Pro do that. You help people kind of with that structure and make sure that they're going to be a present owner and part of this.
Yeah, let me back up. We mentioned about Biz by Pro a couple times. I want to back up just a smidge if we could on where Biz by Pro came from. So because um and I like acquiring businesses versus startups, by the way, if I can throw that out there.
Mhm.
I've acquired 12 and 11 have been successful. So that's a pretty good batting average, over
That's Hall of
90%.
Fame.
I've started 4 from scratch
Mhm.
and 3 have been failures.
Hmm.
So just 'cause it's just like you don't have a proven system, you don't have employees, all that sort of stuff. Now, I will say the one that I did start is my best company. The one winner is my best company. But no way should you start a business if that's your first business. Go buy a business and learn some mistakes a little bit when you actually have cash flow coming in that you can recover from. But starting a business and you're making mistakes, you're gonna fall flat on your face. So with that going into transitioning into Biz by Pro and how it sprouted um, from the seeds that I've been planting is over the last 6, 7, 8 years. I mean, it's everybody knows I've been in the small business space and successful. Friends, family, friends of friends would like, hey, go talk to Paul, go talk to Paul, go talk to Paul, and I'd do all this stuff for free, right? They'd send me profit and loss statements and tax returns and offering memorandums, and I'd look at it and all this sort of stuff and kind of help them through that process. And the common denominator is, oh my God, these people are going to ruin their lives because they had no idea what they were doing. And they're getting ready to buy a $1.5 million deal. And I look at the financials in 10 minutes and I'm like, well, you missed the insurance. You missed that they should have W-2 people, but they're running everybody on 1099. So you have to convert them, and it's going to be about a $90,000 tax hit for you. You're way underinsured. You're not only way underinsured, you don't have the proper insurance. And I think the company's worth 750, and you're about ready to write a check for 1.5. You're going to go bankrupt, right? If you get an SBA note, they're ruthless. They will come take your house if you default on that. Don't think that the SBA and the Small Business Association and the federal government is nice. They're not. They want their money. And it's that business number one, and you just put your life savings into that deal, that is life altering. That's how you get divorced. That's how your kids hate you. That's how you fall into depression. And a lot of people don't recover from that stuff. And it was event after event after event after event. And after about 3 years, and I'm like, I'm in a situation in my life where I can pay this forward now. Right. So I've been on a journey for 2 years trying to create this community on how I can help people from making all the mistakes, not making all the mistakes that I made, to flatten the learning curve out, because I really didn't know what I was doing probably till business number 3 or 4 and 10 years down the road. Well, what took me 10 years, I can teach you in 6 months now. Come to my community. I'll teach you how to value stuff. I do on every Monday night, I do live deal reviews. So anybody in my community, even people thinking about joining my community, Monday at 7 p.m., live deal reviews. I'm going to put up stuff on the Zoom where I'm going to show P&Ls and what I see. And here's what do you guys think this is value? Should we buy this company, not buy this company? Deals that I've looked at, current deals that I have under letter of intent. And then people in the community can throw their own stuff up there and we'll analyze it for them. Right. So I'm teaching all this stuff. Right. So you come to 2 or 3 live deal reviews, you'll know more in 3 hours than 99% of the buyers are in the United States. And you'll probably know more than 80% of the business brokers in the United States just by coming to my live deal reviews. Wednesdays, I got live Q&As. You come on and ask Paul any question you want about anything. You can ask me personal stuff, my family, college education, health insurance, business broke, what's hot in 26. What do you think's going on with interest rates? What's my worst investment, best investment? Come ask me anything you want. They're live. None of that stuff is sorted, pre-filtered. It's just live on the air. So I got 70 training videos on every single topic you could possibly think about. And these are all shot by me, right? From my experience over the last 25 years. So that's how BizBuy Pro got started. I'm super excited about it because I feel like I am going to create generational wealth for hundreds, if not thousands of people and change their lives by just following the footsteps. I mean, you mentioned my book, The Exit Plan. It's a blueprint, right? So that's my last 25 years of experience is the exit plan. Here I am. I'm going to show you the blueprint and the path that you need to follow to replicate exactly what I did, but do it 10 times faster because you're not going to have to make all the mistakes that I made, right? So I'm going to teach you about all that sort of stuff beforehand. So I'm super excited about it. And that's kind of gets me up every single day now is just looking forward to helping other people that were in my space 25 years ago.
Yeah, I love that idea of accelerated learning, right? Because we're in a world now where things happen so fast. And you could see that a new business owner without some guidance, without some help, they're just going to blow up the business they just spent their life savings on and mortgage themselves to the teeth. They're going to blow it up in 90 days, and if you can help them avoid that, get that stability right from the beginning, figure out how to protect cash, and you don't have to optimize everything immediately. Those are some lessons that people really, you're not going to go to just YouTube and figure that out, right? You need somebody that's been in the
Yeah.
trenches.
What kind of comes back to is you don't know what you don't know,
Mhm.
right? You think there's 10 things to know to finding and running value and closing and operating a business, but I'll tell you there's 70. So there's 60 other things that you don't know, right? Like I'll bring up this as an example, like what legal entity should I create? Okay. So again, let's go back to YouTube. I can go watch a couple of YouTube videos and I'll learn how to do that, right? And it is super easy. Just go into your state's comptroller's website, $200, and you got an LLC set up, right? However, there's 4 or 5 boxes that you need to click during that setup. You click them right, because if you didn't, you're screwed, right? So as an LLC, did you bring in a partner? Or is it just you, a single member LLC? Oh, single member. Oh, so now you're what they call a disregarded entity in the eyes of the IRS, which has the worst tax situation of any legal entity. So all you needed to do, and hopefully now I've educated all your listeners, is bring in a kid. You can't bring in your spouse. Be careful. Bring in a kid, and a brother, a dad, a friend, give them 1/4%, 1/4% ownership. And now you're not a disregarded anymore, and your tax liability is in a much better situation. Okay, then fast forward that. So I've had set up this LLC or an S corp. How do I pay myself? First off, you're not entitled to anything. You know how much money you're entitled to is at the end of the month, how much money's in the checking account. That's how much you get. If there's none, then you don't get any. You are the last person to eat, right? That is a mindset you have to change, right? But anyway, back to the point I'm trying to make is how much do you pay yourself? Well, some people are like, well, I'm going to pay myself a salary of $100,000. No, why would you do that? So you're paying the worst tax situation on 100% of that $100,000. You're paying both sides of Social Security, right? Paying maximum taxation. So what you want to do is pay a fair and equitable and marketable salary in the eyes of the IRS. So what would you pay somebody that does your work if they hired somebody? If you quit and you hired a manager, 60 grand. Okay, that's what you need to pay yourself. And then the other $40,000 is not a salary, it's a distribution, a profit distribution. That's a better tax situation.
Mhm.
Okay. And let's just say that saves you $5,000 a year in taxes by doing that times 20 years. It's 100 grand. So just by doing that, I saved you enough money to buy another business. Yeah, it's 20 years out, but I just saved you enough money by doing nothing other than having a 3-minute conversation with me or watching one of my videos to set that up correctly. Right. And there's little tweaks here or there. And I talk a lot about taxes. And if you don't know about taxes, you are going to be wasting money. What there's in my opinion, there's 3 or 4 or 5 ways to become wealthy in the United States. One of them is by not paying taxes fairly and legally, right? The tax code is there for you to take advantage of, right? Everybody gets mad at President Trump or Bill Gates or any of these wealthy people that pay no taxes, right? They're not doing anything illegal. I mean, God bless them. God bless their
Yeah.
tax attorneys. They're taking advantage of the tax code, and it is there for you to use. And if you don't use it, then that's your loss, right? So there's 15 or 20 different things of do this, do this, do this, do this, record this way, record this, and all of a sudden, instead of paying $50,000 in taxes, I'm having you pay 20, and it's all legal, right? I mean, where are you putting your cost of goods sold? Right on the P and L, is it down here in G and A? Is it up here as cost of goods sold? Right, because there's a tax difference between where you put that, right? And nobody even knows that stuff, right? So it's super important that you know. And what my goal is at Biz by Pro is not to make you a subject matter expert in any space, but I want you to become educated just enough so when you go talk to those subject matter experts, you go talk to a real estate broker, your CPA, a tax attorney, whoever, you're just smart enough to ask questions. You don't know exactly what it is. Let's talk about Section 179 depreciation. If I just educated you just enough so you can ask that question, hey, I've been reading on Section 179. Is that applicable for me this year, or can I plan for that next year? You don't need to know about it in the 40 pages of code in IRS code, right? But now I've educated you just enough so you can ask a question of a subject matter expert, and then you get that benefit, right?
I like that analogy. You know enough to ask the question, and I would follow that with, but not enough to be dangerous.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. You got to know who your guys are, and we talked about emotions and an ego before, right? Is before you even start this venture, let's back up from day one. I wake up and look in the mirror and like, I want to buy a small business. Okay. Then you need to go sit down at your desk and tell me all the things that you're good at on the left side, and then all the things that you're bad at. Well, make sure you focus on these good things and then hire for the bad things. If you're horrible at marketing, then don't try to do it. Hire a marketing specialist,
Mhm.
right? If you're good at taxes, then, I mean, I still hire people to do my taxes, but I'm good enough that I can do all of it myself, right? So, and I'm good at building. I'm not good at operating. I'm horrible at marketing. I'm really good at sales. But understand it. I mean, it's a soul searching thing, right? And be honest with yourself. What am I good at and what am I not good at? That's task number one. When
Mhm.
I've decided, I woke up, I want to buy a business. Now figure out what you're good at.
It's an interesting conundrum because people always, when I talk to them, they talk about who should I hire first? And especially in the marketing world and the agency world, people always seem to think in the last few years that they need to hire a VA right away. I got to have a VA. What are you going to have them do? Well, I'm going to have them do all the stuff that, that I do all the time. You shouldn't do that. And same thing. You already know how to do that. You're the expert at those things. Hire the VA to do the things you don't know how to do,
Yeah.
or to kind of go a little bit sideways on this, but you know the book, The 4 Hour Work Week, Tim Ferriss.
Yep.
Everybody thought, oh, I only need to work 4 hours a week. That's what Tim Ferriss said. That's not exactly what he meant. What he meant was do the things you don't like doing 4 hours a week so that you can do the things you like to do and are good at doing the rest of the time. You still got to work your 80-hour work weeks, it's
Yeah. Exactly.
being, but I think that one of the things this kind of leads me to is when people buy a business, especially one that's, doing hundreds of thousands in profit, a year, there's employees, right? How do you mentioned that you kept the owner on for 90 days, but then you had a relationship with them for 20 or 30 years. But how do you decide who stays, who goes? How do you build the trust with the team because they don't know you from Adam? Kind of walk me through how you help people with that part.
Yeah, the first 90 days post acquisition is super important, right? Again, with that mindset of I'm not smarter than anybody else in that space. So not just that's not just applicable to the seller, but it's applicable to his manager and a bunch of employees that may have been there for 10 or 15 or 20 years, right? For 90 days, observe. Just come sit in the corner. Maybe they don't even know who you are. Just go in your office there as the new owner. Obviously introduce yourself, but you're just observing, asking questions, seeking input, right? I mean, think of a manager that's been there for 20 years and no one has ever sought out their opinion on something. Go up to, let's call him Steve. And Steve, what's going on? How long have you been here? 20 years. Oh, great. You like your job? I mean, if there's one thing that you could fix around here to improve something, tell me what that is. Then all of a sudden, that guy likes you. Nobody may ever sought out that person's opinion, and now new guys coming in asking for his opinion on how to improve this company. So ask a lot of questions and observe, and then make changes very slowly, right? I normally I'm all about making when you are running the company, make your decisions very quickly and pivot off those decisions, right? But first 90 days, 6 months, I mean, you're very slow to move. And then once you kind of up and running, you got that trust factor and stuff like that. Make decisions very quickly. Even if you wait until you have all the information you need, you will never make a decision. If you have 80% of what you need, make that decision and move on. And if it's a bad decision, move off it very quick. Right.
Yeah. Perfection is the enemy of progress, right?
Yeah. Yeah. If you wait till you got 100% of everything, yeah, it'll take you 20 years to make a decision. And then you're out of business. So, yeah, exactly.
Is 90 days kind of the standard for most sellers to stay with the company?
I think it's probably 30.
Really?
I like 90. I just like a site at 1 quarter, right? There's always certain stuff like maybe you don't do sales tax reporting for once a quarter, right? There's always just weird stuff that comes up once a quarter that if you want to do full time 30 days, but access any time up to 90, that's fine. But I normally like to try to get 90 days. I mean, good God, man, I'm giving you $3 million. Can you give me your time for 60, 90 days, please? I just wrote you a check for 3 million. Come on. That seems fair, right?
That's a little bit more than the salary you would have made if you'd kept this business. So
Yeah,
in those 60 to 90 days. Yeah.
exactly. And it's super important too. Let's talk about this is really important. I know we're coming down on time here. Is up front, probably the most important thing you can do during the acquisition phase. Let's just say we just got a non-binding letter of intent signed. Or you better go out to lunch with that seller multiple times. And if you're married and they're married, the four of you guys should go out to dinner and don't even talk business. I mean, you need to create a friendship, right? And they may say something inadvertently. Let's say they're not trying to hide anything from you, but you just bring up something and they brought up something and like, wow, that was good to know. Right. And for when times get bad, now you've created a friendship and they're going to help you. Right. And then when you negotiate that 90-day extension of them staying, or let's say you're going through due diligence and you guys have become friends, maybe you went hunting. Right. And now it's due diligence and you found something in due diligence and like seller Steve, I'm using Steve a lot. Steve, man, I found something in due diligence and I can't buy your company for 3. I still love it, but my purchase price is 2.5. If he didn't know me from Adam, he'd say, see you later. But now because we're friends, we can negotiate that thing. It's like, man, I can't come down to 2.5. How about if I stay on as a salesperson for free for a year? Oh, okay. So can we do 2.7 and you stay on for free for a year as a salesperson and help me grow this thing? Okay, so now because we're friends, we just worked out of a bad situation, right? Super, super important.
It didn't, yeah. If you just come into that cold with no relationship at all, no friendship, that's an affront, right? That's an attack.
Yep, it is an attack. Even
Yeah.
though warranted, but still they take it as an attack. That's personal. Yep.
So one of the things I kind of want to follow up or finish up with, if you will, is when you're doing due diligence, and I think this is critical. There's ways to fudge the numbers, right? If you could focus in on what's a single biggest factor or the quickest way to figure out that someone's lying about profits. Everybody says, "Oh, we're doing 500K a year in profit." Really?
Matching of the P&L and balance sheet and tax returns, without a doubt. And nobody does this. Nobody does
Hmm.
this. Um, so the balance sheet is a history of the P&L. Okay, so if you have 4 years of P&Ls and they made a million, 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 a million, okay, that profit all rolls through into the balance sheet under retained earnings, right? And other just kind of things that just smell test of like, does this seem right? I made a million, 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 a million, 4 million, and then I look at the balance sheet, they have a bunch of loans. What? You made $4 million in 4 years and you're borrowing money to buy a truck, or you pulled on a personal line of credit, or you lent the company money? Okay, that doesn't smell right. And there's some stuff that throws through on the tax return as well. That's not necessarily on your balance sheet, but there's some stuff on the tax return too. So not super sophisticated. I just got to show you where it is. And there's some CPAs that don't know stuff like this that would be doing due diligence. I guarantee you hire 50% of the CPAs to do due diligence, and they're not going to tell you the stuff that I'm telling. They're not even going to look for the stuff I'm looking for. And I can teach you that in 10 minutes.
Wow. So people need to come to your Monday and Wednesday lives.
Mondays and Wednesdays. So live deal review on Mondays at 7 p.m. Central, and then 8 p.m. on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Central for live Q&As. And
So
those are, and even if you're not in the community, we invite people for free to come to that stuff. So yeah, you can reach out to us, go to a website, bizbypro.com, and there'll be areas that you can sign up for both of those. And yeah, I'm here to teach as many people as we possibly can. If you love what we're doing, then sign up for the community.
and we're going to have links to those down in the description below. So make sure you check those out for those of you that are listening. Um, Paul, this has been eye-opening for sure. Where else can people find you? Are you on LinkedIn? I know you've got the book. Is that on
I'm
Amazon?
on LinkedIn. I'm all over social media. You probably I'm on social media so much, you're probably gonna get sick of my ugly mug. But I'm all over the place. And then, email me, paul@bizbypro.com, if you want to have a conversation with me. And this whole thing's me. I built this in a way that it's me. There's other people out there building communities, and you will never see that figurehead. And it's just a bunch of people behind the scenes that don't know what the heck they're doing. I built this. It's me. I'm doing all of this sort of stuff, right? So I'm doing the live DNA deal reviews, in the live Q&As, and when we join that community, and there's some different areas that you can come in at. Some of the stuff I'm working one-on-one with you. You find a deal, send it to me, and I'll value it for you, right? So and that's why I built it that way. I'm going to keep it small enough. I'm not going to get 10,000 people in my community. That's just a disservice. I'm going to keep it small enough that I can actually help people and try to change their lives.
I love that. I think that builds lasting, not only generational wealth, but it builds a legacy for you and your family, right? You're not just
Yeah.
about yourself.
Yep.
I love that. Steve, geez, we kept talking about Steve. Paul. Steve, thank you so much for being
Steve,
here.
where is Steve? Steve, where's Steve?
Steve's an interesting guy. He's doing it all.
Steve does a lot of stuff. He does.
Paul, thank you so much for being here. Again, check out those links down below, everybody, and we'll see you in the next episode.
I love it. Thanks, Thad.
You bet.